Hi everyone, how are we doing? We're back on the 67 Hail channel with me, Hamish Carton. You know, I do these videos quite regularly, probably 3 or 4 of them a week. I'll be honest, sometimes they can be a little bit of a drag if not a lot of exciting stuff's happening in the world of Celtic. The one word you would use to describe the Europa League draw today is exciting. Lots of people would probably use other words as well, that it's daunting, it's challenging, but for me, it's a brilliant draw. And I actually think we've got a fair chance of getting through the group. I'll come on to all of that later on in the video. I'm going to run you through the 3 teams we've been drawn against, give you a little bit of background information. The draw was literally done about 20 minutes ago. I've been bashing away my laptop for the last 15 minutes, try to find out as much as I can about the various teams to bring you that info as soon as possible, because I think it's really exciting. It's going to give us a bit of glamour, this group, and as I say, I think there's a small chance, no, not even a small chance, I think there's a good chance that we can get through this group just like we did last year. Who knows, maybe even top the lot. Right, before I got into that, I'll just put out my usual shout. If you've not yet managed to subscribe to the channel, blah, 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 please subscribe. We'll cross the 6,000 barrier last night or this morning, I think, I'm not quite sure. But massively well done to everyone who's subscribed. Really appreciate it. Please keep them coming, and we've got so much more good content to come in the coming weeks and months. Right, on to today's video. So as I say, straight away you go on Twitter after the draw, and a lot of it's tongue-in-cheek, but the kind of vast majority of people are saying, God, we're pot 1 and we still end up with such a difficult draw. Yes, I see that point of view. It is challenging, but do you not want a challenge? Would you not rather Celtic are going up against some of the brilliant teams that we're going to talk about in this video than getting Dundalk and various other teams for Cyprus and all that? I want a challenge and a bit of glamour to our season, and this draw is certainly given us it. Right, let's run through the teams, starting with the pot 2 team, who ironically are probably the least glamorous of the 3. Right, Sparta Prague, they qualified for the Europa League group stage, courtesy of finishing 3rd in the Czech top flight last season. They finished 3rd, but they were a whopping 25 points behind their rivals Slavia Prague. Interestingly enough, I noticed that Sparta's rivals Slavia were also in the Europa League draw on Friday, also in pot 2 as well. So I think if we were to had to get one of the Prague teams, we certainly got the better one in Sparta Prague. However, having said that, they have started this season really well. They've won all 5 of their league games so far. They also progressed in the Cup. Obviously no European qualifiers to play this year as they went straight into the groups. Their top scorer so far this season is a player called Julius Lucas, who has 5 and 5 in the league. They're a mainly Czech team. I be honest and say I don't know a great deal about many of their players. The one that kind of leapt out was a guy, Borek Dokal, and that's probably more for my Football Manager playing time. I remember having a Rosenborg save years ago, and he was really good for me. So it is the same guy. He's Czech. He's actually a Czech international, still a regular for the Czech team. He's had around 40 caps, something like that, since 2012. So he kind of plays in the number 10 role. He's their main creative outlet. So he might be the main man to watch, but I'll be totally honest and say they're the one team out of the 3 that we get drawn against that I don't know a great deal about. In terms of their recent kind of European pedigree, this is the first season they've made group stage football since back in 2016 when they were in the Europa League. They actually got through their group that year and were eventually knocked out in the round of 32 by the Russian side FC Rostov. I think, as I kind of hinted at the start of the video, that there's a lot of similarities between this year's group and last year's group, and I think if you're kind of placing Sparta Prague in last year's group, they would be our Cluj effectively, and I don't say that just because they wear the same colour kits. I think they're of a similar level, so they're not an easy side, they're not a team we're going to go over there and batter, or probably even batter at home, but if we're looking at taking 4 points from 6 from the 2 games against them, then I don't think you could argue with that, and I think it is well achievable. They're a decent side, but we're a better side. Undoubtedly the big glamour team of the group, AC Milan, 7 European Cups they've won in their time. I think only Real Madrid have won more than that. There quite simply doesn't come many bigger European outlets over the last 50 years than AC Milan. However, we are playing them in the Europa League this season and takes a bit of getting used to, but we were the pot 1 team here. They were not pot 2, pot 3 AC Milan, and they only just qualified for the group stage last night. They were in Portugal. They eventually went through after an almighty scare against Portuguese outfit Rio Ave. They equalised in the 120th minute, so right at the end of extra time. Took it to penalties in Portugal and eventually went through. I think 9-8 that one finished on penalties. So it was really dramatic, but that was how close they were to not even being in the competition. As I say, they are there. They're pot 3 teams, but they're much diminished from the team that we last faced, I think, away back in, was it the Gordon Strachan days? When I think we played them 2 seasons in a row, unless I'm forgetting one. I think that's the last time we faced AC Milan in a competitive match. We've obviously played Inter since then, and Juventus and Lazio last season. Talking of Lazio, AC Milan finished 12 points behind them in Serie A last season, and that was with Lazio easing off massively at the end of the season. That Lazio had a terrible run as football returned after COVID. So if Milan are that far behind Lazio, who we beat home and away last season, maybe they're not to be completely feared, as some maybe will looking at the name. Yes, they're a decent side. They've got some decent players. Their main man's Zlatan Ibrahimovic, but he's now 38 years old. He doesn't play every single game, but he's still a pretty important player for them, as you would expect. They've also got a youngster called Sandro Tonali, who they signed from Brescia this summer. Now, in Italian football, Italian circles, he's seen as the next Andrea Pirlo, and that's not just because Pirlo also came from Brescia. They are seen as very similar players, so he could be and is likely to be a future Italy star. So keep an eye out for him when we play against them. They've also got Daniel Maldini, who, no prizes for guessing, is the son of their iconic left-back Paolo Maldini. So there's another bit of interesting stuff. I think he's an attacking player, Daniel Maldini, and he's played a little bit for them in recent weeks. They're not massively blessed with big names. They've got Hakan Calhanoglu, if I've said that right, former Bayer Leverkusen player. He's a real creative outlet for them, but they're more a team on the up rather than having lots of star names other than the kind of ancient Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Now, they're managed by Stefan Pioli, who was going to be out of a job in the summer. They were looking to bring in a German coach whose name escapes me now, but they eventually stuck with Pioli due to the brilliant job that he did at the end of the season. So he's clearly quite liked by the Milan hierarchy. They're on the up. As I say, they finished 12 points behind Lazio last season, 17 behind the eventual Serie A winners Juventus, but that was with Juventus, I think, losing their last 2 or 3 games under Maurizio Sarri. So Milan are way off it in Italy. They're miles off it in Italy. But despite that, they'll still be tough opposition. They're always going to have decent players, and it's just a massively glamorous match. Obviously, the kind of elephant in the room with Milan and Celtic links already this summer has been talk over Christopher Ajer. It doesn't seem like Ajer's going to go to Milan, but it may just be one to keep watching as the transfer window enters its final few days, because wouldn't it just be typical if Ajer ended up moving to Italy and then came up against us in the Europa League? Continuing my theme from earlier, if I compare it to last season's group, the comparison is obvious. It's with Lazio. As I said, Lazio finished ahead of Milan last season, so are Milan a downgrade on Lazio? I wouldn't say that, but I think they're probably a really similar team to Lazio, similar kind of level, so I'm not expecting us to take 6 points again from the Italian side, but 3 points, I think that's achievable. Would that be enough to see us through? I think 3 points against Milan, 4 against Sparta Prague, and maybe 4 or even 3 against the final team Lille, who we'll come on to, could well do the job. Brilliant draw. I'm delighted we get AC Milan. I think it's a great bit of glamour. It's 2 of the most iconic kits in world football, the green and white of ourselves, the red and black in Milan, and I can't wait to get to battle with them. The team that we really wanted to avoid from pot 4, and I said it to all my pals in the various group chats right before the draw was made, we really want to avoid Lille here. They're the good side out of pot 4, and wouldn't you just know it, Group H, in comes Lille to join Celtic, Sparta Prague and AC Milan. Now, Lille finished 4th in the French League and last season. They missed out on the qualification for the Champions League by 1 point. However, they've started this season pretty well as well. They're second in the league at the moment. They've won 3 of their 5 games, drawn the other 2. Their top scorer in the league is Jonathan Bamba, but it's another Jonathan who's kind of made the headlines already this summer. Another one of these brilliant crop of brilliant Canadian players for the future. When you think of the likes of Alphonso Davies at Bayern Munich, Jonathan David, who they paid round about 28 million for. They signed him from Ghent in the summer. He's expected to be really good, so he's a player we'll have to keep a massive eye on. Lille had so much money sitting around. They raised about 100 million in sales this summer. They sold the defender centre-back Gabriel to Arsenal for around about 28 million again, and they sold Victor Osimhen, apologies if I pronounced that wrong, Victor, to Napoli for around about 60 million. So they raised just shy of 100 million pounds this summer. So that's why they've got so much money sitting about. Don't be surprised if they spend more money between now and the end of the transfer window. They've been linked, obviously another elephant in the room, there's loads of elephants in this room, they've been linked with Alfredo Morelos from Rangers. So I don't know, wouldn't it kind of be typical if he left them and ended up scoring against us, breaking his duck against Celtic while playing for a team that isn't Rangers? Wouldn't that just be kind of typical? Obviously I hope that doesn't happen, but they were heavily linked. This isn't just paper talk, so that could be one to watch as well. Another massive connection that you may or may not be aware of, former Celtic man Timothy Weah currently plays for Lille. Well, I say plays, that's a kind of loose term because he's not played very much as of late. He's had injury after injury basically since leaving us a couple of years ago. He signed for Lille from PSG that summer permanently. He's had, I think, leg injuries. He's had, I think, a broken leg at some stage. And recently it's been a couple of real bad hamstring tears. He has played a couple of games lately, but it's mainly been sub-appearances. So by the time we face him, he could be up to speed. But, you know, when you look at the way things finished for him at Celtic, with Neil Lennon leaving the club, I think, a couple of weeks early to go and play with America, he might feel he has a bit of a point to prove against us. So, and he's clearly a decent enough player. I mean, he was nothing special, but a bit of pace about him and started very well. So he's another player we have to look out for. Other players from Lille, Jose Font, their captain, is a Portugal regular, and so is Renato Sanchez as well. He's really terrific midfielder. If you ever see him play, he's kind of dreadlocks and that, or he certainly did the last time I saw him. So he's one to watch out for as well. They've got a lot of quality there. I think, controversial maybe, with them being 4th seeds, but I think they're probably the best team in the group. Recent European pedigree, last season they were in the UEFA Champions League after finishing 2nd in League, and Champions League didn't go well for them at all. They were in a group with Chelsea, Valencia and Ajax, so it was a bit of a tough group for them, a bit of a group of death there, but in their 6 games they only got 1 point, so maybe European football isn't for them. Will their manager decide to take European football seriously this season, given that they're in the Europa League and given that they've started League and so well? Time will tell on that front. My big positive that I'll finish on, because I have probably been scaremongering you a little bit about Lille, big positive is that they finished below Rennes last season in Ligue 1. It was only a point, but they still finished below Rennes, a team who I really didn't think were up to much at all. Like we battered Rennes and should have beaten them in both games probably. So that maybe gives an indication of the level of French football. I think other than the top team PSG, who have had a poor start this season, I think it's very kind of average French football. I mean, the way we played against Nice with our reserves in a pre-season game already this season, they weren't great either, and they're another kind of so-called top French team. Even Lyon kind of struggled once our best teams came on in that game a couple of months ago in pre-season. So I'm not massively concerned about any team in this group. I think we're good enough when we get into the group stage routine to go and get results against this team. It's a fascinating draw for me. Final point I wanted to make in this video, just with regards to the dates. Obviously we live in a crazy time, unprecedented, etc, and it is unprecedented for the Europa League and group stage football in Europe. That means that with less time to fit all these matches in, they are going to be far more cramped together. The fixtures will become clear on Friday night. You may know them when you're watching this video. Obviously, at the time of my recording, I don't. However, it's not really important for the point I'm about to make because the dates won't change. The first match date will be the Thursday after we play Rangers. So we go play St Johnstone on Sunday, international break. Come back to Rangers on the 17th of October, and then the following Thursday night we'll get our Europa League group stage campaign underway. Now, the games come thick and fast, as I say. We play that Thursday, we then play the following Thursday, and then we play the Thursday after that as well. We then have a 3-week break from European competition before another 3 in a row fixture list. So we then play Thursday, Thursday, Thursday. So you're rounded it all up by the usual time, but obviously we don't have as much time to play the games this year. So my point is that momentum is going to be key. You know, these games are going to come thick and fast. If someone gets a kind of medium-term injury and is out for 3 weeks, a month, they're going to miss half of this whole thing rather than maybe just 1 or 2 games, as would sometimes be the case. Momentum's key. You're going to go Thursday, Thursday, Thursday. So if you can get 3 points in your first game, it can really put the pressure on other teams. I'm massively looking forward to it. Hopefully that's come across in this video, just how excited I am about it. You know, Lille with all their talented players are going to come to Glasgow. We're going to go over there. We can hold our own there. We did it last season against Rennes. AC Milan with all their big names and quality are going to come. And we've also got a tasty game against Sparta Prague that we've got a chance of winning. So yes, I think we're going to do well. I think we're going to get a top 2 spot, probably second, but don't even write us off from winning the group. We are pot 1 after all.